here's another question. What is the meaning of the miracles? Some people will argue about the factuality of the miracles. Did they happen or did they not? That's one thing. But their meaning is quite another. And in my opinion, the meaning of the miracles is way more important. It's interesting that even during the earthly life of Jesus, people disputed the meaning of the miracles. Some people saw them as signs of the work of God. Others saw them as the work of demons. And let's explore the meaning of the miracles. But first, we need to do something very important. We need to step outside of our contemporary mindset, because the way that we think about miracles is not the way that people of biblical times thought about them. If we look at a standard definition of miracle today, we have a definition such as an event that occurs outside of the laws of nature. That is, people would regard a miracle as God's almighty power that contravenes the known laws of nature. That concept of a miracle is problematic. In the first place, it means that we can only speak of a miracle if we know all the laws of nature. And the problem with that is it leads to what they call a God of the gaps type theory, where what we don't know is accounted for by God. I'll give you an example. Centuries ago, people did not know what caused lightning. Lightning was this mysterious force that would appear out of nowhere and strike in seemingly random ways. And because people didn't understand it, they ascribed it to God as some sort of a miracle. Now we know that lightning is caused by electricity, it's caused by atmospheric events. We know what causes it, and importantly, how to deal with it. So we no longer regard it as a miracle. And I think this is the problem with saying that miracles occur outside of the laws of nature. Because the more we know about the laws of nature, the less miracles there are that we can talk about. This is why Cardinal Walter Casper, when he writes about the miracles of Jesus, talks about and I quote here, a dragging rearguard action against the advance of scientific knowledge. And he makes a very interesting point that if we say that things we don't understand are miraculous, then eventually our preaching as Christians loses its credibility the more and more we know about science. There's also the question of whether God himself would want to violate the laws of nature, or would God want to work through them? Cardinal Casper argues that even in what we call miracles, God is working through created causality. That is, that God works through the universe, our world, as he's created it. He makes an interesting point here. If God completely violated the laws of nature, then miracles would be so outside of our experience, so alien, so overwhelming, that they would be absolute proof of divine intervention. And with absolute proof, miracles would force us to acknowledge God. We would have proof and knowledge, we would have certain knowledge. Now that's very attractive in some ways, that if we had absolute proof of God, we would know. But what would that do? Cardinal Casper says that this proof would violate belief and free will. So here's a question. Were the miracles of Jesus there to prove that he was the Messiah? Were they there to prove the existence of God? Were they there to force us to assent to something that we could not dispute? Or the miracles prompts, questions, signs and wonders to bring not proof, but faith? That's an important question. As you read the stories of the miracles of Jesus in the Gospels, ask yourself this important question. Are they there to prove God, to prove Jesus, to bring about certainty, or are they there to prompt faith and belief? I want to return to the idea of created causality, that God works through nature rather than against it. And a number of years ago, when I was trying to explain this point, a student put up their hand and said, I think I can clarify this with a joke. And I think it's a great story. There is a gentleman who goes to the church every morning to pray to God. God, let me win the lottery. God, I need to win the lottery. And he does this every day for 20 years. God, I need to win the lottery. Help me win it. I need it for myself, for my family. And then it gets to God, if I win the lottery, I'll give you 10%, 20%, 50%. I'll do great works for you. Oh, God, 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 please, please, please let me win the lottery. After 20 years, from up the front of the church, there's an answer. It's the voice of God. My son, for 20 years I've heard you. You've asked me, may I win the lottery? I will answer your prayer, but help me out here. Buy a ticket. If you get that joke, if it brings a smile to your face, you get what Cardinal Caspar means about the way that God works. Does God work against nature, or does God work with nature? If God would work against nature, the man in the joke would win the lottery without buying a ticket. If God works with nature, and if it was the will of God that the man would win, then someone's got to buy a ticket. So that's a good point to think about.